Australians will head to the polls tomorrow to vote on the Indigenous voice to Parliament. What is the background to this referendum?
The voice referendum has been a long time coming, really. There's been a recognition the Indigenous population of Australia needs to be recognised. In the early 2000s, there was bipartisan support for recognising the Indigenous people in the Constitution. And then they'd moved forward, and with the support of both the then leader of the opposition, Bill Shorten, and Malcolm Turnbull, they appointed a number of, for want of a better word, bigwigs or senior leaders of the Indigenous communities to a committee that met and wrote this Uluru Statement that called for a constitutionally recognised and enshrined voice to Parliament. Then probably, and because there was also large popular support in the polls, Albanese, when he came in, probably thought that this was going to be a walk in the park.
The polls have shown support for the yes vote has been dropping for the last year. What do you think the result will be come Saturday?
I was on the record in October last year, based on my sort of previous experience with Brexit, saying I thought that this was going to be lost because there are certain factors that you always have to take into account. Well, I have a statistical model. So there is a general rule in referendums around the world. Statistically speaking, governments start with a lead of about 56%. So the higher the turnout, we know from referendums, the higher the no vote. So a lot of the people who were sort of skeptical will tend to vote no. So because there is compulsory voting in Australia, you can knock 5% off those 56%. Then you're down to 51%. Then statistically speaking, governments lose 1.6% of support for every year they've been in office. This government been in office for a year, then we're down to 49.4%. And then typically, when you don't have bipartisan support, you can knock another 7% off that. So then we're down to 42%.
There's strong feelings on both sides of the vote. How do you think each side will react to the result?
I think we would have a lot of sort of licking of wounds on the yes side. They will try to put a brave face on it. I think the no side will slightly probably overplay their cards, that we've seen in previous Australian referendums. They will say, well, this basically was a massive defeat for the government, and then they will make the fatal mistake of thinking that this result translates into election. Governments that lose referendums tend to win elections. And Bob Hawke, arguably Australia's most successful prime minister, lost 6 referendums and yet was also re-elected on every subsequent occasion.